Hi guys, Jason here from Nathaniel School of Music. I teach piano, and in this lesson I want to talk about a very important part of the piano player's weaponry, if you will. So this is called the sustain pedal. It's something you rarely see, especially in the modern day world with everything going digital. You don't see that normal 3 pedal thing on a piano, and even if you do buy something like that, it may be quite costly. So if you buy a normal electronic piano or electronic keyboard like this, it may or may not come with a pedal. What you definitely want to do is purchase one and make sure that you get something compatible with your instrument first of all, because if you don't, then you may have to return it or figure out a way to change the polarity, and that starts getting very geeky and technical, which won't really inspire you that much. So what you should definitely get is a pedal which feels nice, which feels like a piano pedal. There are a lot of these switch things going on in the market, and I wouldn't really buy those, because in the long run you need the feel. This is as much important to feel as the keys on the piano or the keys on your keyboard. Do not compromise on that. So it's your left hand, it's your right hand, the fingers on each hand, and of course the pedal. This is an extremely important tool, and there are a lot of us every day who just forget about using it, and it's really important for playing solo, for playing in a band, for accompanying a singer, for playing with an orchestra, for recording, and for a lot more. Yes, there are a lot of other pedals as well, like the sostenuto pedal, the soft pedal, a lot of which you may have already seen. But the sustain pedal would be your go-to at a concert or at a recording, because it just serves one basic purpose: to sustain what you play. So in simple words, if I were to just hold a note like a C, right now it's sustaining because of my fingers, right? But I may want to do something else. I may want to go this side, that side, and do other stuff. So by pressing the pedal, it's sort of a hands-free kind of system. In the moment I lift it, the sound dies, right? Now pedals come in different, I would say in different features, and with the better ones it will cost more because of a feature like this. If you can just see this, hopefully there are 2 modes on the pedal. There's what we call a continuous mode and a switch mode. Now a switch mode is designed by this pedal, which is Roland's pedal. I would imagine when you're using keyboards which don't support the continuous mode, in which case if you are in continuous mode, what happens on a keyboard like this, it doesn't work even though I'm pressing it. But if I go to the switch mode, since this supports the switch world, it works. And to be honest, I wouldn't recommend the switch based piano if you want to get into serious piano playing, because the continuous mode will be a lot more elegant during your transition between chords, melodies, notes, especially when you're doing octave playing. So if you have a pedal which supports continuous mode like the Roland pedal here, or maybe a Yamaha pedal, or anything else, you basically need to figure out your instrument as well. You need a keyboard or a MIDI controller or a digital piano which supports the way you work. So it should have a continuous feel ideally. If not, you can still manage with the switch feel. So don't worry if you have a keyboard which doesn't support continuous, it will still work. It's just not going to be, I would say it will be about 95%, which is still okay, especially if you're just getting started with the gadget. So you just connect it to your keyboard, and usually the way to connect the pedal is always put your keyboard off and then plug in the pedal, and it will work fine. If it does not work fine, I would suggest checking the manual if there is any, checking the keyboard if you have a polarity switch, because when it doesn't work fine, what will happen is it will get reversed. What was off would be on and what is on will be off. So that's really messy, and it may really confuse the hell out of you guys. So make sure you figure all this out before you use your pedal. So I'm not going to get really in depth with the pedal in this tutorial because it does take a lot of time. There are a lot of exercises which we teach at the school to develop this skill, but I'm going to give you a start because this is something I found very important to talk about. I've seen a lot of students who are new to music pick up a keyboard, and then you have this automatic sustain button which when you press, literally everything gets sustained, and this is what happens when everything gets sustained. This doesn't sound too good because you're playing everything and everything is ringing on forever. So I would never use the sustain button on the piano, even if someone forced you to do it. It's just absolute nonsense and wrong, and you're not going to be getting a good sound. So if ever you have any of those buttons, sustain on, sustain off, if you followed me for a while, just take my word for it, do not get into all that stuff. Buy yourself a normal pedal which you can afford, and pedals are affordable. They are all definitely in the $1,000 Indian rupees, or maybe the $20 price range if you look at it on an international or an American website. So what happens is, obviously you put it on the ground when you use a pedal, and some of the pedals will have a grip which you can use. The grip is very useful if you want to use it live. It's basically a rubber grip. So whenever you sit on the piano, just make sure wherever your foot naturally lands is where the pedal is, right? So as you can see now, my foot is essentially bang on the pedal, right? And some people will play here, some people will play here, some people play with their toe. I don't really have any specification for that. I may have done all, or I may continue to do all. I don't see the big deal whether you play like this or this. Maybe some of the classical guys would tell you that this sucks or that sucks. But the essential way to use it now is, if I were to play a chord, or let me start with maybe 4 chords: C major, G major, D major, and A major, right? So C, G, D, A. Now if I have to play this in a loop without the pedal, this is how it will sound. If you look at my playing as well on the piano keyboard, while I'm using the pedal, it's sort of giving me the freedom to not just stay in one zone on my piano. It's allowing me to go everywhere else. Like for instance, it definitely allows you to expand your keyboard, literally play the entire 88 keys without worrying about the sound cutting randomly. For instance, if I don't use the pedal, it may sound like this. It just sounds very, disconnected, as you probably heard. So now coming to how to use the pedal, it's a little tricky. So the basic trick I have for anyone who I teach with a pedal is just time it with your breathing, and let your breathing be as musical as possible. And breathe normally, but try to breathe musically. So what I do is, I take a deep breath just before I have to change my chord. So it could be at the last beat of the bar, or maybe the end of the 4 of the end of the bar. Take a breath, and when you breathe, what's going to happen is your brain will hopefully take that knowledge or that information and also get your leg to lift while you inhale. So yeah, so if I play C major now, I'm going to play it with the pedal held, because while you play a chord, it's okay to keep the pedal held. Now breathe. G, 2, 3. Breathe. D, 2, 3. Breathe. A, 2. One more time. Breathe. C, 2, 3. Breathe. G, and when you breathe, you lift, right? C, 2, 3. Breathe. G, 2. You're always trying to lift the pedal before the next chord. A lot of guys I've taught over the years, it's very natural obviously to lift it on the beat, because that's what you do on with your hands, but you do not do that with the pedal, right? So the best way I can equate it mentally when I do this, when I play the instrument, is to equate it with my breathing. It's sort of like a singer taking a breath before his or her next line. So if you're singing a line, obviously you have to take a breath. So when you take a breath, I would say the breath of your piano is the pedal, right? And when you're not breathing, you sort of 90% of the time, especially when you're playing non-rhythmic stuff, by non-rhythmic stuff, I mean not this sort of stuff. You should be well off not wanting the pedal for that, because if you use the pedal for that, now that may sound a bit weird. Right? It doesn't sound that groovy, and your drummer is probably going to get very, very annoyed with you. Right? So you have to also use it sparingly. I would use it only maybe for ballads, maybe country music, where you're playing arpeggiated work like. But even with an arpeggio, when the chords change, lift, or in other words, breathe as I say, and press again. Lift and bring it back. So try to just look at my breathing now. I hope you can get what I'm doing, and just see how I'm lifting my breath, and you'll also hear the pedal as well. Here goes. Right. So that's sort of an introduction to the pedal. Hope you guys can make some sense out of it and start using it, and start using it right now, especially if you know your chords, if you're playing with inversions, if you enjoy playing arpeggios, or even if you're doing some melodic work, the pedal can really, really come in handy, especially when you're doing octave playing, as opposed to, which is nice. But another thing we need to realize about the pedal is it also adds a sense of ring or a sense of resonance in the actual piano. So this is actually a mechanical thing which goes on in the piano. So by sustaining, the sound also changes. It's sort of like in a production you add like a layer, a pad layer to your piano, right? the pedal sort of adds to that, because all the harmonics of the actual piano will be sustained. All the harmonics of the actual piano will be sustained, in the sense that it creates a nice warm effect, bright kind of effect over what you play. So it's not wrong to just use it just for the sound, just for the change of the sound. And it's an extremely exciting thing once you start getting used to the sustain pedal, right? It's also, you could say, the damper pedal. On some keyboards you'll have a slot which says damper. So again, in conclusion, the sustain pedal is something you guys need to have. How do I use it? Well, start by playing chords or arpeggios, and whenever you change from first chord to the next chord, breathe and then lift while you breathe, and then press it back at the next chord, and start slow. Don't go for it immediately. Start slow, practice at home, and then you can perhaps use the same in a recording or at a gig or with your band or wherever. So hope you found that tutorial useful, and as always, this is Jason from Nathaniel School of Music. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and share it with your musician friends or anyone really. Cheers.